Well, welcome everybody to the weekly norm here. This is part 2 of the confluence of core, and the way I'm going, there might be part 20, 30 of this. It's pretty involved. You know, when I go to work in the morning, I like to listen to CPR classical. And right around 8:25, which is when I'm 8:35 actually, when I'm in the car, the host is Cabin Thomas, and he likes to do what he calls the moment of Zen, which is he finds a beautiful piece of music, just gorgeous, you know. And before he starts it off, because he wants, we're going to take this and we're going to relax and start our day this way. And he says, so let's take a deep breath. And he goes, So today's talk is about what constitutes a deep breath. There's actually several things that do it. We're going to talk about one today because it's important to understand that many people think that a deep breath is filling your lungs up with air. But what we're going to learn is that we can be oxygen rich in the lungs and oxygen poor in the tissues, the rest of the body. And there's many reasons for that. So the first thing we're going to talk about in terms of deep breathing is the movement of the diaphragm, how the diaphragm moves in relationship, and what does it mean to have a deep breath. When we take a full, deep breath, when it's truly deep, the diaphragm moves through its full range of motion, which is about somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 inches. It's not a lot, but it's such a big muscle that the broadness of it and its movement is quite profound. Statistically, only 10 to 20% are, statistically, most people only use about 10 to 20% of their full range of motion. And that is one of the reasons is because when we take a deep breath, many of us use force and speed. And what you're going to learn is the key to a truly deep diaphragmatic breath is slow, relaxed, and controlled. And we should be able to, and we think that the only way we can take a deep breath is to be physically dynamic, really take a deep breath. And the truth is that we should be able to take a deep breath and enjoy the full range of motion of the diaphragm, even when we're at its profound state of rest. And very few people can do that naturally. In fact, many people breathe what I call against the tide. And one of the reasons why we can't take a good deep breath is because of issues we have with physical issues, with tension and holding, physiological habits, including neurological habits that become patterns. So we breathe in the wrong direction, we breathe shallowly, and psycho-emotional, stress, tension, trauma. These all can create imbalances, and we breathe against the natural tide. And the natural tide starts with that movement of the diaphragm. People have difficulty breathing slowly because it requires also conscious training. Slow and quiet is not hardwired into our system, as is fight, flight, or freeze. We've talked about that before. So forced, fast breathing totally aligns with our sympathetic nervous system, with our abilities to face tension, with our abilities to face stress. And we get into a habit. In fact, there's even a reflex called the inhalation reflex that creates a faster, more forced breath in response to some stimulus. It could be an asthmatic, it could be a stressful response. And that can become more habitual as well. It takes practice to do slow diaphragmatic breathing. But as the body learns to relax, you develop this sense of relaxed, slow, controlled, full range of motion breath. And I've said sometimes, so I'd like to really give you an example of what slow and full diaphragmatic breathing feels like. And I'll sit there and you won't see any movement from me, except intrinsically. It's really sexy. It's really inspiring. It's not like, it's deeply intrinsic, and it is deeply and profound. So really, to summarize this, a deep, slow, relaxed, full breath utilizes the diaphragm much more fully at rest than it does when it goes fast. Even though we think going fast, we're really taking a deep breath. We're filling the lungs, of course, but there's tension associated, and there's other factors, which we'll talk about another time. We want to use maximum range of motion even when we are just sitting here listening to me talk. It just happens, fully dynamic. And when you're rested, because the other thing the diaphragm does, like we talked about last time, when it moves fully, the pressure gradients that take place between high and low pressure between the belly and the thoracic goes a long distance in terms of helping the heart pump blood and fluids through the body. So it's really, really very important. We want to use this maximum, and this is what I call breathing with the tide. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it.